Cringing at myself because there's someone on the balcony across from me watching me do this. I just okay, let me get it together. So in this video, I want to talk about the differences between the education visa and the destination visa because I think a common question that a lot of people ask is, what do you recommend for a long-term visa? And I think everyone's circumstances can be different. Everyone's needs are different. What they're looking for in terms of living somewhere long term can be different. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. But I would say, because I have experience with the education visa specifically for studying Thai language and then also the DTV, I want to break those down because I think a lot of people really focus on budgeting and finding a condo and getting a motorcycle license and doing all these things in Thailand. But I think people forget that you need a visa legally to stay here. And I think there's also a misconception that, you can just come and go into Thailand and everything's all fun and games and, people travel and go to different countries. But people also get deported from Thailand for overstaying their visa, for not having a proper visa, for being on a visa and not following the rules. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, but it's not just all fun and games. Like, you have to follow the country's laws and regulations. And so I hope this video gives some insight into the different options in terms of education visas and DTVs so that you can make a decision for yourself based on what you need and what you think would be best for you. And yeah, I think it's just really interesting that people don't realize, like, you can get deported from Thailand as well. You can be blacklisted from the country, meaning you're not allowed to come back in. I had a friend recently, she's trying to figure out a long-term visa because she was doing border runs. So basically, going to a nearby country and coming back and forth on a tourist visa and not having a proper long-term visa. And so after a while of you doing that over and over again, immigration will start to, it's a red flag for them in terms of, this person is coming into the country every single month. They're not on a long-term visa. Like, what's going on here? And I'm not saying you can't do that for short periods of time because, maybe you're wanting to fill it out and just kind of see if you actually enjoy living in Chiang Mai or in Thailand. So I think for short periods of time, you can definitely come on a tourist visa and that's fine. But if you're wanting to be here for 6 months or longer, or let's say you come here and you realize, like, wow, I want my life to be here. So yeah, there are options. So let's get into it. So I want to break down the differences. Again, when I'm speaking on education visas, I'm speaking on Thai language programs. So with education visas, you can do Muay Thai programs. There's a self-defense program here. They used to have cooking. That's not an option, I don't think, anymore. But yeah, it's pretty common for people to do Thai language specifically. And with Thai language, you can do it at a private university, which I did. I did it at Chiang Mai University for my first 2 years, and then the last year I was on it, I did it at Payap University. So I did a total of 3 years. And that's one of the limitations with education visas, is that there's usually a max at 3 years. I've heard things here and there where you can do 3 years on a Thai language education program and then you can switch to Muay Thai or self-defense and then get another 2 or 3 years. I can't say for sure if that's accurate or not because, again, things change so much in terms of laws and immigration here. But from what I know, you can only do a maximum of 3 years. So obviously that's a option for people. Maybe 3 years is all you really need, and then you figure out what you want to do after that. So I would say it's an option. The only thing I would say with education visas are the fees are going to be a little different. So you have to remember that you're paying for tuition for the school in addition to your visa. So when you're on an education visa, you pay the school the tuition and the fees just like any other student would. You're basically a student on a student visa. The other thing with education visas is that the longer that you're on those visas, when you go to immigration to renew or to, sign on for another year, immigration. So, for example, when I went to renew for my third year for an education visa, immigration asked me to speak in Thai. So they were speaking to me only in Thai, and I could only respond in Thai because they want to make sure that you're actually going to classes and that you're actually learning. You're not just signing up for this program and trying to scam to get a visa. I know it's really common here, but the immigration and government officials are really tracking that now. They actually go to the classes unannounced to do attendance randomly. They'll do random checks. There were a couple schools, like private language schools, that got in trouble here for having visas, but the students weren't, they hadn't signed in for attendance in a while. So there was a lot of things going on. So they are becoming more strict with making sure that if you have an education visa, you are actually going and studying and learning Thai. The other thing with education visas, when you leave the country, so let's say you're on an education visa, and it's good for a year if you don't know, and you want to go home for the holidays and visit your family, that might be an issue depending on the school. So at the university, I'm on a student schedule, so I have to follow the student holidays. So if I wanted to go home for a month to visit family for Christmas or for New Year's, I couldn't do that. Or if I could only go for a week or two at a time that matched what the university's class schedule was. It's not like you can just come and go when you want. At my program, I think they allow, there was a certain number for how many classes that you can miss. And then after that, you are at risk of being kicked out of the program. And along those same lines, if you want to go out of the country, you have to file for what's called a reentry permit. Basically, it's just a permit saying like you are allowed to leave and come back into the country and continue on your education visa. I'll talk about how that's different from the DTV in a second, but I think these are just important things to consider. I mean, education visas, I will say, are a great option. I'm not saying to not pursue it if that's something that you want to do. Maybe you do want to learn Thai, and I think it's helped me a lot get adjusted to life here. But I will say there just are limitations to it. Of course, the cost as well is going to be a lot more than the DTV. And so there are a lot of other factors that go into it, but I hope that kind of gives a baseline in terms of, are you considering an education visa, and maybe you're just wondering like, okay, what is the best option? What does that look like? And so let's talk about the DTV. So the DTV is different because this is a 5-year multiple entry visa. Technically, it's still considered a long-term tourist visa, but it allows you to stay in the country for 180 days at a time. So every 180 days, you have to leave the country, and then you can come back. You don't have to reapply for the visa. You don't also have to apply for a re-entry permit like you do for the education visa. And I will say the DTV is more, of course, there's an airplane flying by. So I will say that the DTV is more cost effective in my opinion. You pay that one-time application fee. It's around $400 or $500 depending on where you are. But you don't have to pay that every single year. You pay the application fee, and if you get approved, that's it. The financial requirement obviously is different than the education visa. You have to show I think right now it's the 15,000 US dollars in a bank account, and you have to show that statement. I think now they're asking for 3 months of statements. I did a video on this, I think a few weeks ago, if you want to watch that. So the requirements are obviously different, but yeah, cost effective. You're not paying for tuition. When you do the education visa, you're paying for tuition every single year that you do the visa. So, if you pay tuition for that 1 year, your second year, you're going to be paying, another. And I think it was around $1,200 or $1,500 for the education visa versus the $400 or $500 application fee for the DTV. Another thing that people don't realize is that when you are living in Thailand long term, you have to do what are called 90-day check-ins. So basically, it's just reporting to immigration and letting them know I'm still at my current, place of residence, my condo, wherever you're staying. And you have to do that every 90 days, no matter if you're on an education visa or DTV. And so that's something that I still do. I think the first one that you do, it has to be in person. And then after that, you can do them online. So yeah, I think it's just something that people don't realize, that you do have to report to immigration every 90 days. But anyways, that's beside the point. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that you cannot open a bank account on an education visa or on the DTV, at least in Chiang Mai. In the past, years ago, if you're on an education visa, you could open a bank account, but there's a lot of issues right now with fraud and scam. And so they're really, being very particular who they're allowing to open bank accounts. They had issues with I think it was a call center scam. I don't know exactly what happened, but happened recently. And so now they're really monitoring bank accounts. There's also a lot of new tax regulations that are coming out for foreigners. And so that's another reason. But I think that's also a misconception. People think, oh, I'm on the DTV. It's a 5-year visa. I can open a bank account. But technically, the DTV is still a tourist visa. And then again, the education visa, you're a student. And from what I know right now, they're not allowing foreigners to open bank accounts with those visas. So I think the only visa that allows a bank account to be opened right now, I think, is the elite visa. And this visa is a little different. I'm not going to go into that because I don't have the specifics. I haven't done it myself, but I have friends who have done it. And so, yeah, just something, again, to take into consideration. I think that gives a baseline, in terms of the differences between the education visa and the DTV, and kind of, I hope it gives an idea of, maybe you're considering both, you're not sure which option would be better for you long term. Again, there's limitations with both. For the DTV, it is a 5-year visa, but you have to leave every 180 days. And same with the education visa, it's something you have to renew every year. It's not permanent. It doesn't give you permanent residency or any of those things. And so, yeah, I hope this video was helpful. And I know it can be really stressful trying to figure out, what visa to apply, how to apply. There's a lot of things that go into moving somewhere long term. And so I hope this video was helpful. If you're interested in hopping on a call and kind of just want to ask questions to someone who has been here for a very long time, for 6 years, almost 7 years now, I'm happy to do that. I can put the link in the description because I know how overwhelming it can be when you're trying to move your life somewhere long term. Especially if you're doing it alone. I moved here alone in 2019, and I just remember the stress and the anxiety of moving somewhere new all on my own. And so I get it. So yeah, I'll put the link in the description. But if not, you can always email me. I'm not a gatekeeper. Like, I'll answer questions if I can. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.